I'm Debbie Weber, and we're in studio with Tony Dant.
Hello.
Hi.
Just gotta try to get away sometime. Escape from the scene. Things aren't like yesterday. Come back to me. My fantasy. Will your love set me free? I want your love. I just wanna get next to you. If it's a dream, you better not wake me up. Taking your love, just a matter of a dream come true. Come back to me. My fantasy. Will your love set me free? No, it won't last that long. Gotta touch your skin. I know you won't let me in. Yeah,
Welcome back to In Studio with Tony Dant. I'm Debbie Weber, and Tony, tell us something about some of the things on your wall here, because you've got a lot of interesting. You've got some 45s and some pictures, and tell us a little bit about.
Well, this first picture is my grandfather through marriage. He was number 44 for the New York Giants. Kyle wrote, actually. Frank Gifford and him were buddies. You know, there'd be different times when my aunts would go, you know, the phone rang and Sissy said, Frank Gifford's on the phone, and they're like, quit lying, you know. And you know, Frank Gifford's really on the phone. He's looking for Kyle. It's kind of neat. Now, let me see. The Rolling Stones I love a lot. I collect 45s, so I try to get classic 45s. My mom met AC/DC in an elevator at the Ramada Inn, as you can see. And she got Bon Scott. He died a year later. He was really famous for the original band. Right? You
So
might
she
know
got
that.
that on a Ramada Inn.
Yes, she did.
Stationery there.
Yeah, I don't really have anything too unusual, but my favorite picture up here is actually this picture right here that I'm pointing at, which really has nothing to do with music. This is an interesting thing. It just goes to show what my karma may or may not be. But this picture is a group of National Guard and a bunch of protesters during the Civil Rights Movement. I was in a parking lot in Potomac, Maryland, and happened to look down during the rain and found a negative. And I saw, well, this is very interesting. What is this negative? So I picked this negative up before it got wet, and I looked at it and I says, this looks like something of some significance. So I took it and took really good care of it. And I kept it for about 10 years. And I said, one day when I move and buy a house, I'm going to have this picture. I'm going to have this into a picture. And I kind of knew what it was going to be, and this is what I did. And that's my favorite picture. And it was just during the Civil Rights Movement. And he's carrying a sign. I have the original, but I believe it was some sort of...
and they have their gun. The National Guard has their guns out.
I think something somewhere out there was trying to tell me something at the time, you know. And this is another interesting picture here. This is G. Gordon Liddy. Either you love him or you loathe him. There are a lot of
interesting character.
G. Gordon Liddy is a very interesting character. When the man set out to do something, he did it. You know, when he set a goal and said, you know, I'm going to go work for the FBI, or I'm going to pass the bar exam, or I'm going to become a scuba diver, you know, whatever it was, he did it. And I applied some of those philosophies to my own life. Like skating, for example. I cannot ice skate, you know. So what I did was I took the philosophy of what this gentleman would say. So what I did was I studied the guy as he went around the ice rink, and I found the best guy out there. And what I did was walked up to him and introduced myself and said, could you show me how to stop correctly and how to turn and pivot? Well, that's exactly what I did. Found the best guy out there and said, hey, could you show me a couple tricks? He was more than willing. Well, you turn, stopped. I was going 50 miles an hour flipping over a wall. You know, I'm not Evel Knievel or stunt dummy. You know? Yeah, achievement is what he means to me. And Blackfoot, Blackfoot Indians. You ever heard of the band Blackfoot?
No, I'm not. Sorry.
The original Leonard Skinner guitarist, Ricky Medlock, is the guitarist of Blackfoot. Early in their career, there was a record company that did not want to have any Native Americans in their bands and didn't think that it was a good idea for publicity in the marketing of Leonard Skinner, being that they were a Southern band that had a Native American. So I believe the drummer, Jackson Spires, and Ricky Medlock were both replaced in Leonard Skinner. And they went on later on to form the Blackfoot Band, and a lot of their songs were they were very deep about how they were wronged in the music business. But Ricky Medlock was a great, great guy. I emailed him about 5 months ago, and sometimes these guys will get back to you. It's really bizarre, you know. You actually can hear from him, because I've heard from a few, and it's pretty neat. But I wanted to tell him that I found out that my grandmother was actually half Blackfoot Indian. And I didn't know that up till a year ago, so I had something to relate to him with. But yeah, there's all kinds of cool, colorful things up here. Like I have an Elvis record, and you know, not a whole lot of things. Half the things are down, but yeah, I'm not a real autograph collector, but you know, I have a few.
Well, I know one of the singers that you had sort of enjoyed was Frank Sinatra, and I don't know if your vocals reflect any of that, or if you or
fly me to the moon and let me walk among the stars.
There you go.
Yeah. In other words, please be true. Yeah, that guy had a great voice. As Loretto was telling us, he was a musician. He was a singer, and he really was, because a lot of singers, especially in that day and age, and you know, in what do they call it, the hit parade and your top 10. A lot of people really sung in the box. you know, and sung directly with the melody over top, and really no sharps or no flats or anything. But Frank Sinatra could sing flats, and these flats and stuff, and these jazz progressions that a lot of people really couldn't sing, because they didn't have an ear like Frank Sinatra did. He knew every note on the piano. You know, you couldn't like trick him, you know, and get him maybe like, oh, that's a little flat there. You're like, how does he know that? You know, well, he knew it. And whereas other people who were definitely equal, Tony Bennett's another living legend, still around. I mean, he's still Tony Bennett's
He's still performing.
brilliant. Yeah, and he still is. You know, he's got the magic. Always did. But he was another one of those people too, right up there with Frank, really. But when you had, back in those days, you had real conventional melody lines, you know, very typical type of melody lines. People weren't really experimenting, but Frank Sinatra did. And he would take a lot of those orchestra things, like I said, and change it by a half tone, you know. And a half tone on the guitar would be, you know, if you were doing like a note, like a, you know, and the difference between, you know, a half tone and a whole tone. And a lot of singers, you know, they don't really have that ability.
Well, let me ask you, what do you think about the singers now that are using so much technical equipment to change their voices and change what the product that they're putting out for the media? Some of the, I don't know, it's technical kind of drumming and instrumental and electronic stuff with their voices.
Like effects and altering effects.
Yes, yeah. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it's really bad for them. In the short term, it's great because, you know, with YouTube sensations and all these different instant gratification that you can get out of the media and fame and fortune, or you could do that, something like that, and cash in. But I think for the long haul, and a musician, if you're a really good musician, you should really go and record your own tracks, you know, try to do it really to the best of your ability and hope that it works. But yes, there are a lot of ways to manipulate your voice and your vocals. I mean, I possess softwares that could take, you could sing for me, and you could sing every line out of pitch or kind of in pitch. I could take your voice in my studio in a music program and pitch correct your voice. You know, and they use it live too. They even make it so the processing is so good with computer technology that you can actually use it live. So like 2 or 3 milliseconds before your voice comes out, this has already processed the signal of your voice and corrected
To do that.
Corrected your voice out of pitch just milliseconds before.
Huh.
It's amazing. And a lot of this technology that's used in all this electronics was all military technology first. And just different pieces of it. And like memory and real big hard drives and, you know, all the modern technology that we use, you know, and like voice alteration, for example, is all originates from, you know, military technology. And all these little bits and pieces are all. Yeah.
Do you think that type of music is going to evolve to something else that we're going to enjoy a different way, or how do you see that going?
I hope not. I mean, I hope music always stays more traditional, you know, with people that can actually play their musical instruments. You know, I think that's why, I think there's some rap music that could probably really be, as far as the beat goes, have good beat characteristics and everything, but a lot of that type of music, I really don't like it because it's processed electronic music. I like musicians, you know.
Do you see that there's room for all kinds of creativity, though, and that
because of the outcome of the electronic stuff?
Yeah, that we might go to something
yeah,
new, or do you see that happening
definitely.
in your music at all?
Oh yeah. I try to incorporate different original techniques and things into my music. I don't try to change what I sound like or change my guitar playing or my voice or fake anything. I use things for corrective purposes and for production purposes. But yes, I have used some of these things in my studio to do some pretty tricky things that are my secrets that I use here in the studio.
Tony, I want to thank you so much for this interview, and you're watching In Studio, and thank you so much for watching.